Hi, this is Paul Sykes, Good News Broadcast. I'm speaking to Molly Freyer. Hi, Molly. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you doing?
Okay, good. Molly is the Assistant Director of Barrier-Free Living. It's non-residential domestic violence program, or affectionately called the Secret Garden. Do I have that right?
Yes, you have that right.
Okay. Actually, a good friend of Good News Broadcast, David Rodriguez, informed me that something, once again, is good happening at Barrier-Free. And it's called Dangerously Silent, a drama, and it's a fundraiser, and it's happening on the 9th of April. First of all, tell us what Barrier-Free Living is.
Sure. Well, Barrier-Free Living actually consists of 4 different programs. There is a transitional housing program, which is a homeless shelter for single adults with disabilities. There's also an outreach program, which works with, again, adults with disabilities in the community. Actually, we'll go out to shelters and hospitals to work with people, to assist them with things like benefits, housing, that sort of thing. Those are 2 of our first programs that the agency started with. There are also 2 domestic violence programs within Barrier-Free Living. The program that I work for is the non-residential domestic violence program, and we are the only agency in New York City that works with survivors of domestic violence with disabilities. And when I say disability, I mean anything that's covered under the Americans with Disabilities Act. So that could be a physical disability, a developmental disability, a mental illness, sensory disability such as a person who's deaf, hard of hearing, blind, and that's what the show next Friday deals with, is domestic violence in the deaf community. We provide counseling, case management, support groups, occupational therapy to clients on a non-residential basis, so we're not a shelter. But the other domestic violence program under the Barrier-Free Living umbrella is a domestic violence shelter called Freedom House, and that is a domestic violence shelter that's completely accessible to people with disabilities, which makes it very unique because it's the only shelter in the city, the state, one of few in the nation that is completely accessible to people with disabilities.
Wow. Thank you so much for doing this kind of work. It's I'm sure it's rewarding, but at the same time, it's disappointing that situations occur, especially when there's disabled people involved.
Yes, yeah.
But you move forwards, right?
Yeah, and that's why we're doing the event like next Friday, which was one of our social workers, Nicolene Plummer. She is the one who came up with this idea. She works with our deaf and hard of hearing consumers here at the program, and that's why she wanted to have this event, was to raise awareness of domestic violence, in the deaf community and among people with disabilities in general, because it does tend to be something that people don't often think about, but is a problem that's out there, and we're trying to work with.
It's interesting because I just had this week we've decided to put together a channel on ears and eyes, and we're in the process of figuring out how to, in essence, create programming and to help people learn more about ears and eyes and all the kinds of things that are happening in regard to, not being able to hear, or not being able to see, and so on and so forth, of which there's a ton. And, just ironically, David sent this to us. This is a whole nother perspective that, wouldn't come into, usually, I imagine, most people's mind of how something like a deaf person could be affected in a situation of, let's call it domestic violence, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, or if they couldn't speak either, right? I mean, that's really not so good, right?
It can be very isolating, and Nicolene Plummer, she can definitely speak much more in detail about the problems that go along with domestic violence in the deaf community, or any person with a disability who's maybe being abused by somebody who's exploiting that disability as a way to control them. When you're dealing with deafness, what you've got is, somebody who's maybe cut off from the channels that a person would use to deal with domestic violence. So wanting to go to the police but not necessarily being able to communicate with them if they're using sign language, or facing barriers in the court system, not having interpreters that are legally certified. Those sorts of things are all barriers that they come across, and that Nicolene is fighting all the time to raise awareness. So again, those are some themes that Performance Next Week deals with.
Okay, well, we're going to talk to Nicolene Plummer, and I got a sense that this is life affirming. This is positive. This is constructive, and it's good news. And
yes,
we're very excited to inform our audience about it. And all right, so now let's go to Nicolene, and we'll hear a little bit more about it.
Okay.